Go live, go live, go live. Hi, homeMORE family. Oh, goodness, it is Friday. Are you guys? I'm just so ready for, I won't even say the weekend. I'm just ready for like a little break. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because Labor Day, normally, what is it called? The unofficial end of summer has come and gone. So now everybody's in their fall push. But I've been on Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. And I'm telling you, I'm so ready not to look at a screen. Not to look at a screen. Well, I'll still be answering text messages, but I look forward to at least, let's say, 12 hours of non-sleeping, non-digital time. But this kind of connection by screen and internet, I love it. Thank you guys for coming on. So you know what we've been talking about? Love in the time of Corona V. And we've had such great guests, but I would be lying to say that this is a minor miracle. What's happened today? We have on 2020 newlyweds. That's right. While everybody else is holed up in quarantine and, feeling sometimes alone or dealing with issues like I want to get out of the house from this person I married or these children I'm raising, these people are choosing to not only come together but stay together. So what I need you guys to do is get your cell phones and do what I do since I'm a production of one. I need you to go to the hopeMORE page. That's little HOPE, uppercase MORE, because you only need a little hope for a more abundant life. And I want you to get on there and share on your personal page, share in your groups. Make sure you're doing it by your group's rules. Share it with a friend or family member who may be encouraged. Maybe they're newly married and feel like, what? This is not what I bargained for. I need you to go on and share. And like always, comment and provide questions if you have it for our guests. So I'm trying to find myself. All right, we're going to, and like the last few days, I have not been able to do this and talk at the same time, but I think I'm conquering it. Yes. And for my YouTube watchers, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when I come on. And, starting next week, I'm going to do better with my YouTube audience, you guys. I'm going to put in some words so you can actually search me. But for now, please just gather around. I know this is going to be a lot of replays because you're getting the scoop on those who are newly wedding in a new world. So I need some more likes. I need some more views. Come on, because you know what we do around here. We have the James Brown effect. You need to be yelling, newlyweds. Oh, come on now. I think I hear you. Yes, I think I hear you. Okay, we're going to bring on these couples. I'm going to introduce them, or no, you know what? I'm going to bring them all out because you're cheering so loud. So please, share because you're going to be blessed. I've already been blessed, and I haven't even had a full conversation with any of our guests. So without further ado, I am bringing on our newlywed couples for 2020 who are showing us how to newlywed in a new world. I'm going to bring on Brian and Amy. Hi! Hello. And then the Dominic and Jazmine. You guys, thank you so much. You ladies, thank you so much. I tell you, it's a minor miracle that this is happening. These people are in so many different fluxes in their life, but they made an opportunity to come because you know what? All of them said, without question, they want to encourage people. So newlywed in a new world. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. And I don't even know. Let me go with the OGs, even though they're newlyweds, the Tompkins. Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'll go first. Hi, everybody. My name is Jazmine Tompkins, aka Dream Wifey. That's where you can find me absolutely everywhere. I am 25 years old, and I am an entrepreneur. I do podcasting. I have all kinds of social media blogs that I do, whether it be in the realm of fashion, even modeling. I did that for a little bit as well, and he's been supportive through all of it. So I'm just in my 25s and having a load of fun and enjoying life as it is.
Me now? Okay. Dominic Tompkins, and I'm also an entrepreneur, and I have my own trucking business that I do. So, and she helps me out a lot with it. So, because it's a lot to do. So, I'm glad she's here. She's the best.
Really?
Yes. And I'm about to turn 30, so I'm getting up there to the dirty 30s up there. So yeah, you know.
That's a good year, man. That's a good. Y'all are babies, man. You're babies. Well, thank you guys for giving us a brief introduction. We got some entrepreneurs. And actually, before this show is over, and I don't know if you're on your phone or a laptop, I want to make sure I get your information so I can post it in the comments so that people can hear. Thank you, Tompkins family. And next we have, since they're the OGs, we have the Honeymooners, the newly minted. Amy and Brian, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Brian McCollum. I am a armor bearer. I serve under the ministry of Spirit-filled New Life Church Ministries in Louisville, Kentucky, where I serve under the Archbishop, Dr. Stephen M. Kelsey.
And I'm Amy McCollum. We did just get married 6 days ago.
Amy, I'm gonna need you to speak up. I can tell why God brought you together, because he's the amplifier and you probably hold down the middle. But could you speak up just a little bit, because we don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, so I'm Amy McCollum, and we just got married September 5th, so 6 days ago. We are on our honeymoon, but we're honored and thankful that we were approached by this opportunity, because we are very strongly in the belief that marriage is a ministry, and that God brought us together to encourage others. So we're really happy to be here this morning here. But
wow, you know, now the McCollums, as you heard, they got married on September 5th. So the flyer, I was like speaking prophetically, they're getting married tomorrow. No, tomorrow will be their 7-day anniversary. Well, it's not annual, so I don't know what to call it, week-iversary. So congratulations. And although they live up the United States, they are actually in Florida in the central time zone honeymooning. So right now, this circle is all Florida. We all sunshine today. So I just think it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So you ladies and gentlemen, you already have somebody saying hello. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for joining us. All right, so let's get to it. I think the new way people love to say it is like, let's get in it, or let's get to it. I don't know. I was like noticing the other day, why is everyone saying let's get to it? Let's get in it, you know? But either way, I first want to say it was a pleasure to be a part of something called Praying for Your Future Spouse Challenge. It is a challenge that's been going on since 2017, 5 days a year, done by Jamal and Natasha Miller of the One University. I believe they worship and serve at All Nations, or Worship for All Nations in Chicago. I had never heard of them until last year. I was in a relationship, guys. I was in a premarital situation where, going to premarital classes, not shacking together. And so during that time, I was praying for somebody I thought I knew was my future. God said no. It was the best $185 I've ever invested, which was that premarital class. I honor him, but God was like, if you do it, it will fail. But you'll have your wedding day. And at 45 at the time, I was like, okay, well, it seems like everyone's having issues, so my issues won't be no different. But I really thank God that coming into this Praying for Your Future Spouse, I was totally single for the first time, praying for someone, or the first time in a couple of years, praying for my future spouse and having no idea who I'm praying about. And actually, during that time, I was having tantrums in my prayer time every night. Like, I thought I was done with this. But what I love is that particular opportunity, I got a chance to not only connect and hear about stories of other singles like myself, but people who've been praying for their spouse and God materializing and bringing together their heart's desire. And so you two couples were two that were gracious enough to post a little bit about your testimony. So I was like, you know what? In this coronavirus world, people are still getting together. People are still having weddings. They may have to adjust. People are still moving and relocating, and so it's not over, you know. And So this whole week has been about discovering those things. So I want to start off with the OGs. So I'm gonna let the McCollums just chill back for a second. Y'all get y'all story together, which I know is actually. So the Tompkins,
Hey.
okay. So I can tell, and this is what I love about how God puts people together, right? Y'all are a great balance. Dominic already told me yesterday, like, he said he was shy.
I am. I'm very.
I don't know that he's shy. He just may not be as talkative as his beautiful wife, and y'all balance each other out. So I'll try to switch questions from person to person, but feel free to jump in, whoever has, that flair. So tell me, how is it that you all met?
You want to jump on that one?
Yeah, okay, so I'll start first. So actually, crazy enough, we met on a social media dating website. And like you said, I was inside the Pray for Your Future Spouse group for a while when they first started. So I was one of the few people that was there when it did. And I was kind of just like, you know what, God, like, I understand, I had been dating a while. I actually have an ex-fiance. So that was kind of God's revelation to me, where it was just like, this is not your person, but I do have someone out there for you. And, I went out into the world and I was like, you know what, I got to find this person. And God was just like, why don't you let me show you who this person is? So I took a whole entire, I think it was a year off of dating completely. And then I was just like, okay, God, like, is it time yet? Will I find this person? And he was just like, okay, I'm going to show you where to look. And I was like, really, off a dating site though? Like, why? Why would this be something that I could do? But it was really honestly the only thing that I could do at the time, because I was so busy with life. And it was just like, you know what, I'll make the profile and see what happens. I paid, I think, a little extra on the dating website for the like compatibility matching thing that they had on service. And then no sooner, I guess, like from his side of the story, he also signed up for the dating app around the same time that I did. And he said within a week we met each other from off the website, and then we just kept on talking for about 2 months, and that was it. Then we met for the first time, and we're here.
Wow. And because I have these beautiful two couples, because I've talked to you a little bit, and I've been totally stalking your pages. I may jump in with things that you've asserted about your relationship, because I want to make sure we get to the nitty-gritty with both couples. So I heard from your beautiful wife, Dominique, that you broke the mold, because although you both lived in Florida, you lived further away, and you, as you pursued and courted her, took the task of making that drive. And that for her continuously and in an overwhelming majority, and that spoke volumes to her. Could you tell us what it was about Jazmine that really pricked your heart? Like, okay, this is the person I'm going to invest in. This, and it leads to the point of saying, I'm really going to prayerfully consider this woman for a spouse.
Well, first off, when I looked at her picture, she was like, oh man, like, she was looking good. So I was like, okay, let me message her and everything. But also her conversations, like when she would text me, it was like, this is what I want. She actually had a conversation with me, because most females, they would, just send you one word answer. Like, hey, what do you want to eat? What do you eat? Oh, just Chinese food. It's like, okay, like that's something just plain. But she will actually go through everything, details of what she wants to do and everything. Like, actually have a conversation with me and text her. I never had that done before either. So, and she's very, very smart. So I was like, oh, that's a plus.
Okay, so you love the way, well, truth is, she was cute. You're like, all right, date their conversation. She had things to talk about. And she was smart. As you guys already heard in their introduction, they're both business-minded entrepreneurs. So your purposes align, and this is sort of a soft push for praying for your future spouse. One of the prayer objectives for the third night, I believe, was praying for your future spouse's purpose. And I just think that's so great particularly in starting with my connection with Jazmine, that God told you to stop dating for a year. Just give yourself to him. And it's funny because when we were talking, you were pretty honest, like, well, I did a few days of the prayer challenge that year, but it was, God had you in this continual state of like, come to me, right? Because I, as a person who's had a broken engagement, you know, so like, you have to reset because you've been planning now what your life would be. And I think one of the challenges of anybody who's been engaged before, and Dominic, I don't know if you have, is to make sure that you let God totally erase that board, because you may go around basically looking for a substitute of the old person that you almost married, because he already fit in this board that you've already created, or this plan. And it's like, okay, I'm still looking for that substitute. What, and then I'm gonna bring the other couple on. What for you, Jazmine, what were like one of your biggest learnings in this time where God said, stop dating, just focus on me?
Yeah, I think because when we spoke earlier, I kind of hit on it just a little bit. But for me, it was just like God was telling me to grow personally. At the time when I first got engaged and I was going through all that, I think I was 20 years old, 19, 20. So I was really young and I didn't have that whole, like, I grew up in the church and all that stuff. So I had the biblical background on how to be a wife, but I also wasn't grown enough to where mentally, like at this point, like now, I know what it means to be myself and in that wife position. So before I would have been more like in a servitude kind of thing. And I don't think that's what God had for me. So during that whole entire time, it was just a time for me to grow myself, to read up on what it means to be a wife, to have more experiences, to know what kind of personalities and characteristics are out there. There's different types of, you know, men out there that do or need different things, and you cannot change yourself to fit those person's needs. Like you can't change yourself to meet everybody's need, but you as a person and you as your whole self can be a very good helpmeet for that one person that God has for you. So I had to go through that fire, girl. I had to go through that fire.
I think that's so beautiful, because until you know yourself, and come on, let's face it, we still got more to learn, but until God shows you who you are and you are convinced in that, how do you even know who to couple yourself with? If you're, you know, I don't know, during that time, did you already know you were an entrepreneur or whatever, all these other things? You could have been thinking, oh, well, he plays sports and I'll just be a sports wife. And God's put this business in you. And it's like, wait a minute, you don't even know who you are. So how could you discern who I'm sending you? Thank you so much. I'm going to pop you guys back on, and I'm going to get to, y'all are the OGs, y'all the new OGs. I'm going to get to the newly minted, the honeymooners. Yes. And let me make sure I understand, Brian. You are an adjunct to your leader. Is that a full-time position, or is that a part, like a huge part of your calling and what you spend time with?
Yes, it's a full-time position, armor bearer, and sitting up under our bishop, and just, you know, being that protector, but also soaking up godly wisdom from him and teachings of life.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to ask you guys the same thing, but I may start in a different way, since you all just got married on Saturday. I did get a little clip, or got to see a little clip of your ceremony. Was the man officiating your wedding your Archbishop?
Amen. Yes.
Oh my goodness, he seems so cool. I was just like, now, okay. So, okay, let me hear it. How did you all first meet?
You want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take it. So mine story is
Amy?
very, very.
Amy, love, you have that thing I've always wanted, that sweet voice. In fact, I was a part of a prayer circle when I was in law school. And for me, it was my first time being a part of a racially diverse church. And I came in, and all of my sweet, I call them light bright sisters, when they prayed, their voices were just so sweet. Actually, everybody. It wasn't a cultural thing. Everybody was sweet. I come from a Pentecostal holiness background.
Right.
And I started praying, and I was like, God! And I was like, I sound like the dudes over here. So I love your voice. I just need you to project a little bit more, and maybe your husband can rub your back, because I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to hear. I want to hear how this love happened, honey. Y'all look so cute together.
Thank you. Okay, I'll try to project louder. So my story is very similar to Jazmine's. I'm 34, and I was married before, and basically unexpected divorce. And for the next 10 years, I had dated, 9 years before I met Brian. I had tried dating sites. I had tried everything out there. And then I was just like, okay, it's finally time to just give it to God and wait for what he has for me. And so, kind of on a whim, I decided to try a dating app again that I had already tried before. I didn't like them. I never had good outcomes with them, and it kind of met some crazy people. So it really scared me away from dating. And so I got to the point where I was just weary. I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay by myself and my son. I don't want any of this additional drama. But probably a week into it, me and Brian connected. And one of the things that was different for me going into another online dating situation was I really needed to put God first, and being that is the number one criteria that I need, because I found myself kind of compromising in past dating situations. So when me and Brian started talking, I thought, nah, this isn't going to go anywhere. But when I started talking about God and his responses, I was like, oh, he really knows God. Like,
He saved for real.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, let's keep talking. And so I don't know if you want to add anything about what you felt from our conversations.
Well, I've always had a good relationship with the Most High, with God, spiritually. And I'm very in tune with my feelings and my spirit. So when when I met, of course, Amy online dating, our conversation was like no other conversation that I've had with, the past tryouts, I like to say, online dating. It was for our love and passion of music, and she knows that I have a great love for 90s R&B. And I think the key point was our love and our knowledge and our relationship with God. And I just knew right away, like I felt it. It was a weird feeling, but I knew it wasn't like something I've ever felt before. I said, I haven't felt like this since my first, what they call puppy love in high school. I was like, I just got that feeling. I was like, and I remember going to tell my sister, I said, I found the one. It's my wife. She's my wife. This is the one that God wants for me. And she said, okay, now, bro, slow down.
Now, how long into the meeting are you guys connecting through this app? Did you, Brian, say to your sister, she the one?
I like the very next day, because we were talking that night, the very next day. And I think that's the key thing, is that, when you are connected with the Spirit, when you are connected with God, he reveals these answers to you. It's not really hard, and I like to say, and I credit it to the Holy Spirit, that her spirit inside of her ignited the spirit in me. And when two spirits come together, that's when you truly feel it, and of course, just like Miss Amy McCollum, I suffered from a divorce. I took it a very hard time in 2018, not only with the loss of a marriage, but the loss of loved ones back to back. And I was in a very vulnerable stage. And I remember asking God, I said, Lord, if it be thy will, bring my wife at that time who's my ex-wife, back to me. Well, she didn't come back to me. And I had a meeting with my bishop and asked him about that. And he said, you know why that is, son? Because she wasn't your wife. A lot of us will go out and pick our mates instead of waiting on God to allow him to bring the right one into your life. Because it is written in the Bible, he says, and I'm just paraphrasing, let no man or nothing break apart what God has brought together. And a lot of us do that not knowing. We'll go out and we'll find somebody and we'll be like, oh, this is the one. But did you truly pray for it? Did you truly pray and say, Lord, send me the one that you want me to be with? And I think that was where I made my mistake in my first marriage, is because I was trying to do what I thought was right in my heart at that time, but I didn't truly pray. But I got back on track and got one with the Lord and really dove deeper than I could ever dig deep. I still feel like I have more, digging to do with my spiritual growth with the Lord. But, he just shows up and he shows out, and he brought my wife to me and I felt it and I knew, and it just reconfirmed when I spoke with Pastor Malone, who is a prophet from Spirit-Filled Ministries, and she confirmed. She said, have patience. The Lord is telling me right now, have patience, because you very well could have the best thing that ever could happen to you in your life. And I just knew right then and there. I said, Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'm gonna do. You got it. The hair stood up on my arm. So it's just trusting God and really forming that connection with God and getting in the spirit. And letting him work miracles in your life and waiting on him. That's the biggest thing. We get impatient as human beings because it doesn't happen in the time that we think it should happen. But we must understand that God's time is not our time. He may be putting you in a holding place to make sure that you are prepared for the one that he is going to bring to you. And he may be preparing that one that he's going to bring to you. And in his right timing, God will bring y'all together and it will be the greatest thing ever.
Wow.
About 6 months before I met Brian, I had already stopped dating for about another 3 months. So about 9 months I had stopped dating. And, I felt God say, start planning your wedding. And this was 6 months before I even knew. I was like, I don't even have anybody I'm dating. I have no prospects. I'm not interested. And I kid you not, I got on Pinterest and I started picking things out like, okay, whatever. And I meet Brian 6 months later, and here we are. We met August 4th, 2018. And, within a year we were engaged and now we're married. So, God was definitely dealing with a lot of things to me. Brian knew we were going to be married before I was confirmed, but God was, I was dealing with a lot of the flesh and hurts and emotional trauma and things from past relationships. And so I was more hesitant, where he was like, you're my wife. You're my wife.
I know. He knew the next day.
Yeah. And I think coming from both of us having been married, we already knew we don't want to waste no time. We've got kids. We've got 3 kids together that, we're a blended family. And we knew that we didn't want to waste each other's time. We definitely didn't want to bring the kids into it prematurely. So for us, it was like, okay, let's meet. Let's get this ball rolling. Let's see how we connect. And if it's great, let's move, let's keep it moving in a positive way. And here we are.
Wow. Gosh. Oh, this is incredible. I'm gonna bring the Tompkins back on and we gonna chat. Uh-oh. Dominique.
Yo, this is what I deal with all the time.
He's already warned me. We were prepared to go with Jazmine.
I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. Because we're both entrepreneurs, we're constantly on the phone doing stuff and making moves behind the scenes. So that's what he was doing. I apologize, but the phone never stopped. My phone, luckily I'm using it to video this, but I see all kinds of notifications so and so has a question, and it's just crazy. But I mean, it works for both of us. That's where we
We are
thrive.
not offended. This is not church. And
Yeah.
I can believe that Amy and Brian would probably have the same challenge right now, but they own the honeymoon. So
Right.
I thank you for your time. And the miracle, you all, is that literally I was afraid. I didn't think the McColls were going to say yes, but Amy came through like, okay. And I'm like, and then it hit me because I was looking at her page and I saw that, and we're going to talk about weddings. That's important with the newlywed world. I saw a post saying wedding September 12th or September 10th or some date. And I was like, whoa, you got married yesterday or today? And
Yeah.
you'll hear a little bit about why that was a little bit different than what happened. But I'm looking at the time, and most time this show doesn't last more than an hour. And I know the newly minted people trying to get back to honeymooning, and the OGs got to take over the world in business. So I'll be mindful of your time. And I'm just asking my audience because I think they're just enthralled and listening. Is that you guys, if you have any cool questions, particularly because we're going to be talking about newlywedding, but as you can see, there's so many things that these people have as far as jewels. A couple that's working together in business, a couple that God is using in ministry, even if it's supporting the armor bearer who's supporting an archbishop. But you also hear that we have people who are loving again after a divorce with children. I mean, look, there's so much. And did you notice? I didn't know how the McCollums got together. And I had spoken to Jazmine briefly. Both these couples connected by a dating app. So for those of you, and you heard their anointment coming out of their testimonies. So for those of my brothers and sisters in Christ who feel like God can't use an app to bring people together,
He can.
let me tell you, let's look at these. But also what I heard too is that everything was done in prayer. And that for both couples, and not that has to happen for you this way, God, particularly for the ladies, had them consider and push away engaging in dating because he wanted to talk to them. So you just because it's on an app doesn't mean it's fast. Just because it's on an app doesn't mean it's not a serious consideration. And I just want to encourage you guys. We're going to be talking more about that tomorrow about dating online, and actually I call it introduction. Is online introductions because you still got to get to know them. And as you heard, both of them, they met a little bit a while ago, but they're married in 2020. So I want to talk about this coronavirus, but actually it's not so much coronavirus. I want to talk about what's been going on and the challenges you may have either overcome or the challenges, I'm going to start with the Tompkins, that you avoided because you did something a little bit unusual. Now, these are the OGs, guys, coming in. You know, everybody else was having their, revival services and New Year's Eve services. Talk about 2020, perfect vision. God's going to pour down blessings. God's going to do this. And which God is doing all of that. Because I was like, a perfect vision also lets you see the bad, clearly. You may want to put those sunglasses on again. Maybe your prayer is really, I don't want to see nothing, because what I'm seeing is a nation that was addicted to sports, entertainment, our regular job, our courses, and God's like, I'm breaking y'all. Y'all going in withdrawal, but you'll make it, and it'll be tough. And I'll get off of that sermon. But in January, just to speed things up, because now I've spent too much time talking, you guys, or maybe say December last year, you guys were like, hey, yeah, marriage. And then in 14 days, marriage happened. Yeah. Could you, Dominique, I almost want to ask you to start.
I think it was like January. It was in January because we got married on January 18th. So literally 14 days before January 18th, we had a conversation because there were a whole lot of things that were happening. And I'm going to be really transparent. They were like, he had just gotten a new apartment. So it was just like, oh, we wanted to be together. And like, it was just all the things were happening. And we were starting, like, I had started packing my boxes up as if I was gonna move in with him. And my parents were kind of just like, they're really, really Pentecost, like they're like strict with that kind of stuff. And they're like, wait, what are you doing? Like, you're not moving in.
Oh yeah, we're not doing no shacking.
Yeah, we don't do that whole thing. So what's really on your mind? And so it was kind of just like, I really, really love him. I know that this is my person. We've already, because me and him, we had conversations before that where it was like, yeah, we do want to get married. Like, this is my person. It was just a matter of like money and us getting all of the stuff prepared to be married. Yeah. So we had this conversation with my parents in their office, living room, whatever. And my parents were like, why don't you just get married? And I was like, well, I don't know. It's up to him. And he's like, no, I'm down with it. Like,
exactly. I'm with it. Like,
yeah. So I said, wait a minute. You're ready? Like, you're okay with that? And he's like, yeah, like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, when should we do this? And we're like, 2 weeks from now. We're not gonna do it this weekend, but we'll do it the next weekend after. And so that literally pushed me. I don't know, personally, I was like, okay, God, like, if this is really honestly what you want to have done, and if this is my person, you have to show me one more time that this is what it is. And so I kid you guys not, everything came into play really fast. My parents paid for the rings. The venue was booked. We had a beach wedding with a nice pavilion wedding, All the food was taken care of. Our families came together. I bought a David's bridal dress, and me and my mom, we went shopping that same weekend for the David's bridal dress. And I was like, you know what, God, I don't have like $200 to be spending on a wedding dress. So like, help me out here. And literally the last dress, we were about to walk out the store. The last dress that I saw was an $80 wedding dress, and it was amazing. And then I they have the time for alterations and stuff. Everything came literally that Thursday before the wedding. The wedding was on Saturday. It came that Thursday. We bought the rings. We bought the rings on one of those other websites, and it literally came on that Friday, the day right before the wedding. Everything came right on time. Everybody's plane was done. Like, everybody came in. Our pastor from Virginia flew in from, like, he was available to do our wedding, and all the documents, of course, you got to sign when you're married. All those things, it was like a dream. When people are like, oh, I'm stressed out and my wedding's in a month, I'm like, I didn't even have that, and I only had 2 weeks to prepare. So,
wow. Jazmine, I almost was like, I was trying to stop you before you went, because I was like, I know you got the story because I heard it, but I wanted to hear from this man of God right here. I'm glad you did that, because you gave us a very succinct way of how it happened. And when we talked before, I had no idea that your parents were witness and a part of this conversation. So it just reminds me of how, like, God orchestrates things. But tell me, man of God, you got a new apartment, you at her parents' house, and the whole not idea, because you guys were dating for marriage, right? You knew that she was your person.
I didn't stay with the parents.
I'm sorry, that's my daddy. I have to call him back. He's like, are you on that internet thing again? Probably. But I will do this. But man of God, I want you to share what you were thinking during that conversation, even as, and I'm not presupposing anything, but you are the head of the family, and we have these concepts of how people get together, how people propose, you get on a knee, at least in this westernized sense of marriage, because we know actually there have been more centuries than not where the families decided how people got married. But could you just share what your experience was?
Oh, it was actually great. It was actually funny because they really wanted me to. Oh, we lost her. Where'd she go? She gone?
Just keep going.
Okay, well, the parents, we had to challenge each other basically to get married. But I already knew that this was my person, so I didn't want to be like, hey, let's wait a whole year to get married. It just was there, so I don't know. It's just weird. Not really a social media person, so it's like I don't really know how to like explain stuff like that. So this is like new to me.
Yeah, you guys. So like, I'm mostly his interpreter kind of person.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's how it works.
I don't really.
Well, you know what I love about this story is that it breaks down pretty much the lie of what we've been grown up to believe. When you think of marriage, even if you think of it in the biblical way, but your examples are what you see on love coms, like you got to get married, and unfortunately nowadays you got to live with each other, and you got to test drive, all these lies of the enemy, and then you need to spend. You've been living with somebody for 5 years and got to been engaged 2 years to work on a honeymoon and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, if you've been prayerful and you're dating for marriage and you're in agreement, and there's nothing wrong for having a longer engagement so you can do all those other things, but there's also nothing wrong with saying, hey, we want to be married, so let's be married. And I saw pictures, and I may pull them up at the end of this time, from your wedding. I would have never guessed that you did all that in 14 days. I would have never guessed. And I just think that is so beautiful, because when you know and you flow, and I know you're going to have something else in 5 years, but I'm like, that's just wonderful. I love it. It almost sounds too easy, but I know it took a year of a relationship and prayer and prayers before that to come to that conclusion. So let's get to the McCollums, the newly minted, who had a wedding during the times where I'm having to drive people's tears because they had canceled deposits and all this stuff because of COVID. When did you all get engaged? Tell us about that experience. And we haven't gotten to the wedding yet, but you could tap on that since you just got through that.
Oh, well, it's true. When a man knows, he knows. So we, the opportunity presented itself. I had no clue. We already knew we wanted to get married. And again, to be transparent, because of COVID, we did have to live together just because he was unemployed. And then due to finances, we couldn't get married as quick as we had wanted to. And so it wasn't what we desired, but it was the situation that we had presented to us. And as soon as we had waited about 6 months for his unemployment to get released. And as soon as it happened, he went out and got the ring, and he said, hey, we don't have the kids tonight. Want to go for a date? And I said, sure. And so he said, it's a surprise. I had no idea. And I said, well, what should I wear? I need to know what to wear. Is this a heels event? Is this a dress event?
And this is going out on a date during COVID-19. Can I match you with my mask?
Exactly. And so he happened to know some people and set it all up. And so we were able to go to a restaurant, and it was normal. It was a random Tuesday. We had a great time. And I thought at the end of the meal, we had been looking at this dessert. And so I thought he had ordered dessert. So the waiter brings this tray out with this silver platter. And before I could even think about what's going on, he lifts it up, and there was my ring, my engagement ring, and Brian had proposed. So that was on July 14th of this year. And so,
wow.
Okay, what's the date? What date are we getting married? Because we're not waiting. We don't know what this COVID is going to do. So let's just make it happen.
Wow. So even you guys, he knew from the next day that you were his wife. As you were preparing to get married, the COVID-19 created circumstances that even changed how you saw yourself sort of connecting. Because not unlike many, actually like so many, it was more than just you and his life. You have children, and I guess do all three live with you, or they're with you at times? So you have like a whole family coordinate, and then they tell you to go somewhere and don't be around nobody else for at least 2 weeks, and then a month, and then another month. So those circumstances had you sort of have to shift. And we all know that it's impacted our economy, our jobs, and everything like that. So you guys had to adjust. How was that for you? Not just that, but just like, okay, I got it. I'm going. Let's do it. How was that for you, Brother Brian?
Well, I have a saying, and I've always said it, and she heard me say it 1,000 times, that I believe that there's beauty within the storm. When you read the Bible and you hear those testimonies, God has done miraculous, even Jesus, amazing things through lots of pandemics that have been going on in the Bible. I mean, they have pandemics in the Bible too, and though it seems like at this trying time with the coronavirus and seems unprecedented and so much going on with racial injustice and the police shootings, the riots and the lootings. But I do believe that God will get the glory out of it all. I mean, you look at Job's life. You look at Job's life, the book of Job. Job went through so much, and he still remained faithful. So I urge everybody to remain faithful through these times, because in the end, what did Job receive from God? He received quadruple for his trouble, So I mean, God is still the person that is in charge. God created it all, light and night, and good and evil. So nothing is out of his power, and we need to remember that. So I think we just need to be thankful for what we have right now. Be thankful for life, because there has been a lot of lives that has been lost during this time. And our hearts go out in our prayers, but just be thankful. I'm thankful every morning that I wake up and I can look at my beautiful wife and look at my kids and say, look at God. To God be the glory, because it was written. It was and is what he wants. So as my wife explained, it was a very trying time. Like everybody else that suffered when the coronavirus hit, I got unemployed. I tried to file for unemployment like everyone else, but the system was so swamped with thousands and thousands of people that some people, including me, did not get unemployment for months. So I was without a job. I was hurt, but I had to just keep the faith and say, you know what, it's going to be all right. Because I've been through a lot in my life, and I've seen him bring me out into the glory. So I know this is just a trial and the tribulation that he's going to bring me up out of. So, at this time I started doing delivery with Uber Eats and Grubhub. And I say, right around 5 to 6 months, when, we had planned for this wedding, we didn't know where the funds was going to come from. The unemployment actually opened up for me to be able to file, and I was able to get all my back pay in thousands of dollars. And even the
God was just helping you save. He was helping you save, because you wouldn't be able to have access to that.
So when it came in abundance and it hit the bank account, I was just like, all right, let's do this. We good. You know what I'm saying? So went and did get the ring and set up for the proposal, because I knew tomorrow's not promised today. I had to get right on top of it, and I knew it was God's plan. So it brought us to this moment. And I believe you wanted to say something.
Yeah, and I wanted to say too, it wasn't all this up and even kind of experience through COVID. When he lost employment, I'm a worrier, and that's something that God deals with me heavily. And I thought, the devil played on that with me. And I thought, well, if he's supposed to be my husband, how is he going to provide? And that was a really hard conversation that we had to have. That was a really difficult point in our relationship, because my, anxiety and worry and the devil playing on that. But, he has this faith, like, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. That was a real point where, where we were like, what's next then? If you're questioning what's next, so, with his encouragement and patience with me, we overcame that. And I, really had to learn that, regardless of his employment situation, regardless of if we, have an extra income, God's still going to provide. We still have a roof over our head. We still have food on the table. We have family, and even without that, God would still provide either way, So, that was a faith test for me through that COVID experience, and even still, he is in the middle of changing careers, and but again, that's not contingent on what we know God had for us.
He's always kept us through it all, and I believe that God, showed that to her. And, I had the patience because I knew all I had to do was worry about my responsibility and what Pastor Malone, prophesied to me about what God was saying. Have patience, all I could do was worry about me. He will work on the rest, and then she became patient as well. And of course, we've always been taken care of. I mean, look at it. We never went without food, never went without home, and right on time. We had money, and we're just extremely blessed. And, man, when I think about how good God is, the tears just start flowing, because, I always say, I feel like I'm unworthy of all the stuff that I have done in my past. I'm unworthy of the blessings that he sheds on me, and my family and my wife, but he does it abundantly because we are his children. He loves us so much. So just, my testimony and my words of wisdom is to have faith. It may seem dark, but you have to be able to stand up like Jesus said during that storm when they were on the boat. All the disciples were worrying and they were like, Jesus, how can you sleep through all this? They're like, we about to go under, you know what I'm saying? And Jesus, just me paraphrasing, got up and said, shh, again, I gotta teach y'all something. Peace be still. And then everything calmed down, So you gotta have that faith. You gotta say, peace be still in the midst of all this, because God's going to get the glory regardless, because he made all of this, and nothing's, without of his reach.
Wow. You know what? I was not knowing what the McCollums were going to bring today. I just knew it would be powerful. What I love is that although you've been married less than a week, what is obvious about what God was working in you all is the commitment is not based on everything flowing well, the dollar bill, and some real situations. Because like I said, you all have not just you to think about, but you got children who are looking to you. Those are real. Those are not, gold digger issues. Those are real. And that God allowed you all to work through that together, even before the ceremony, in a way that so many couples who've been married 10 years haven't been able to weather. And I just think that is so encouraging. So even though these are the newly minted and they're the honeymooners, they done been through some things, not just individually, but together, that God continues to affirm. And Sharika Bernard was like co-signing on that patience, man. Seems like y'all, the middle name of y'all's life, at least in how you shared it with us, has been patience. And she just says, both y'all, great love stories. And I'm looking at the time, and I know we don't have much more time, but I wanted to definitely, and since this is not really about weddings, I know you guys just got married, I'm going to go to the McCollums, because they, first when I reached, or I'm sorry, to the Tompkins, when I first reached out, I assumed they got married during the COVID. And when I realized, especially that they got married after the 14th day of, okay, let's do it, that it was before. And before the actual, the impact in the United States, right? And then I was like, well, goodness, they have been newlywedding for the last several months. And I saw this picture that happened, I think, in August, where it's like, our first trip as a couple. So, so there's just some traditional things that often newlyweds get to do and are involved in. And I just wanted to ask you guys, tell me, and I'm just looking at the time, tell me, and I want to hear from Dominic first, and I'll let you bring in Jazmine. What is like one memory, or not memory, it could be something going on right now. What's one learning that you have since being married that you feel may be particularized because of the limitations of the COVID-19 situation?
Like what is the question again?
Like, what things have you learned, or what experience stands out to you that sort of taught you a lesson regarding being a new husband? And I was saying, as it's particular to COVID-19, but it may not have anything to do with COVID-19. Like, we just spoke to the couple who was talking about, the downsizing and job loss and different things like that.
Oh.
So anything in particular as a new husband that's happened the last few months that's taught you anything?
Well, yeah. When
He's like,
COVID did hit, yeah, it was pretty bad. I wasn't working as much because of, Corona took up all the trucking, because I do trucking, so it shut down a lot of the lanes that I normally would run. And it was just like, it was tough to pay these bills, rent and everything and lights. It was just like, oh man, they was threatened with evictions, and it was just like, wow. But my wife here, she came through and like helped me out, so because she had got her little unemployment thing too. So it was just like, okay, we need that help, so I was happy about that, and but right now it started picking back up. So right now we're growing now. So with FedEx and Tesla, and a lot of different things going on right now. So I'm happy about that. And with the wife, it's like, she's like amazing. Thing I learned?
Yeah, stay your husband.
Well, I learned that what I learned.
Or maybe it's like, because like I said, I'm normally his because he doesn't do this often, you guys.
And
but
bright light in my face too, so it's like I can't really think with a bright. She has a bright glow light right here, so it's like kind of. I
think it was more so teamwork. I think.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Yeah. Y'all are one. So when one speak, you speaking for both. I was just like, let me pull from Mr. Dominic, because I hadn't heard from him.
Like what he's getting from, and I think that's honestly, y'all, from the jump, like from day one since we've met. That's kind of been my role. And that's where personally, as I was growing in that year of not, dating at all, that God kind of filtered that through me, because I used to be so impatient with people. My patience level was really low. I couldn't do that interpreting thing. That wasn't my thing. I would just be like, oh, you don't understand, or okay, fine, whatever. Or, and I would go on it. But having met him, he's grown me in that area, but because I had the practice beforehand, I'm able to more relate to what he's saying and how he's doing it. So, I mean,
so you're a helpmeet.
Yeah.
In other words, you're a helpmeet.
Yeah. So
why would God create us to help be an answer if there was no question? So I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't really do social media, and I don't really like explaining a lot of stuff. So it's just like,
hey man, you're a doer. You are a doer, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's a very, very good executor. Like, if you tell him what needs to be done and whatever, he's on it. But to explain exactly why or what happened is kind of just like, how do you say what's going on in my head in this way to make sure that other people understand what makes sense? But like I said, I love that part about him, because it actually gives me a chance to be there for him, because sometimes women can feel intimidated when the guy is such a doer and he's just going and doing all the things. But and as a female, I want to be able to help in some capacity. Like, don't zoom off and leave me, they're trying to pick up wherever, y'all stop. So I think it works out really, really well. Just knowing where both of you are. And that's something that I would encourage all of the couples out there to do. Actually, when we first met, we did the 5 love languages compatibility tests. So we got to learn what each other's love languages were during the dating
that's good
phase. So I would suggest to use that to help you just find out how you actually can be more of a helpmeet for that person. And don't use it to cover up what you already know to be false, but use it to help you actually grow in that relationship.
I think that is so powerful because people are being brought together, and I laugh because I give the most marriage advice for a single, never been married person than you ever met. And unfortunately, it's from my time of doing divorce law. And I end up having actually to go to counseling. Is no laughing matter because I grew this fear of marriage because I saw how devastating divorce can be, especially for believers, because they took them vows seriously. And I was like, who's gonna decide to love me forever? Because I don't even love myself every day. So because of that, or because of those instances, and also my parents have a wonderful 48-year marriage, and their families come from a long line of successful marriages, then I felt that I was sort of had everything on a pedestal. Like I was acting like whoever God has for me, he has to have the wisdom of someone who's been married for 40 years. And my mom reminds me all the time, the first 2 years of marriage, I was like, what did I do? And you admiring your father is not who he was when we married each other. So I think it's so great that, even though I'm jokingly calling you guys the OGs, that Jazmine, you have learned the beauty of being a helpmeet, and that Dominic has learned is really okay. Like, you flow how you flow, baby. I flow how I flow.
Yeah.
So even you being on here is so great. I know it's stretching. Like I said, Dominic already told me this ain't my thing. So I appreciate you, man of God, for being on here. I want to ask one last question. And it's so interesting because I was sort of like thinking like, these are newlyweds, and I'm going to get more into internet dating and some changes about weddings and stuff on my show tomorrow. But I don't know who Rita Lewis is. Who is Rita Lewis? Because she loves y'all.
That's my mother.
Oh, I was like, so I'm going to give it a pass. I was like, Rita Lewis is telling all your business over here in the comments. So I was trying to avoid some of the conversations I'm going to get in, because everyone knows that weddings, even that were scheduled inside of COVID, have had changes because of a lot of things happening. So I was going to stay away from questions about your wedding. However, the stresses of wedding, even if it's in 14 days or 3 months or 2, can also be impacted by what's happening in your life. And your mother, she has a great long comment. I don't know if I'm going to post it, but she commented about the fact that there was a health scare of one of your parents during your time, and how, if anything, that has nothing to do with wedding, right? That's life. I find that many couples within the first couple of years of marriage, and I'm not speaking this in someone, I'm just saying my experience, because I've been in 21 weddings, 6 times maid of honor, and I give marital advice, that it seems like unemployment or the death of a spouse seems to routinely hit a couple in the first few years of marriage, or something scary that would like solidify or cause damage, especially if you don't allow God to heal it. Do you mind sharing? I know you didn't, well, maybe I'll put the comment up here, but your mama is giving praise to God that he played a role, because weeks before your dad was not doing so well. So your mama is on the show today. She's giving her testimony about.
Amen.
So the two of you share whatever you want to share about that, because once again, you've had the unemployment thing hit you guys sort of hard, this COVID, not sort of hard, and then you got like health scares regarding people you love. And how, if anything, did that help you guys grow and even depend more on God to bring you through that situation?
Well, what I wanted to say as a preliminary is, when I first met Brian, I started in counseling, and because I knew me, and I knew some of my things that I needed to work on could impact, make or break our relationship. And through that counseling, some things, kind of was brought more to my attention about how I felt about my dad. My dad was a great provider, still is. He's a great man, but I felt from the child's lens and perspective, certain things that I wish he had maybe done more of, but because he worked out of state. So through that, through counseling, I was able to really have a conversation with my dad and reconnect. And so that was all preliminary that I had. You know, you think your parents are going to live forever. You think they're going to be healthy forever. And when this health scare happened, it really made me grateful that he and I, because anything could have happened. He had a 95% blockage in one of his arteries. He was out of state. And we're just thankful that God brought the ambulance, you know, in time to help him. He didn't have anybody down here. So it was just very, very scary. I was very worried, but also grateful at the same time that if something had happened and I didn't have another opportunity to speak with him, that I had already had that conversation.
Yeah.
And that resolution of our relationship, and our relationship has been a lot better since. And so at the wedding for our father-daughter dance, it just made it like 1,000 times more special that he was actually there and, you know, present to be there. I mean, anything could have happened. I don't even like saying what could have happened, but we all know with, you know, a potential heart attack and being out of state, you know, nobody would have been able to get in touch with him or even find him, you know. So we're just thankful that God put things in order even months before any of this even happened, you know. And then having Brian here to support me in, you know, hey, you need to go down there, you need to, you know, fly, we're going to find the money to do it if you need to get down there, you know. Just having that support system was huge, you know. So
Wow. I think it's so amazing.
Yeah, Dad is doing good. He's got some follow-up stuff that he has to do, but, you know, they got him in and got him stable, you know, within a day or two. So
Wow. I think it's so amazing that, well, I'm using the word amazing, but that may not be the best word, that when people are coming together, right, the word says that if any two touch and agree, anything could happen. I think one of the most powerful reasons to marry is to have someone committed to being in agreement with you about things concerning yourself, your life, your children, and your family. So the enemy is not wanting that agreement. He's not wanting people to come together. It's a spiritual thing. It's cute to talk about colors and dresses and the song that you walk in on, but it's in those times where, honey, I need you to be in agreement. Even if you can't say anything, do anything, I need you to be able to pray with me. I need you to be able to just, because although you're married, you're still people who are accountable to your own God about your own salvation, and that you needed to walk through. God is using your husband as he would, because you're one, to help you, but he's not the answer to that. God is the answer to that. Holy Spirit gives you wisdom. And I'm so glad that you were able to share. And I want to actually to ask Jazmine this, and I hope you guys have a few more minutes, because I want to end it on a higher note. But I do want to, since we're talking about health and we're talking about, especially in this COVID-19 time, when you have an older parent who's sick now, it's not just, oh my God, whatever their present possible illness is like, you're going to be exposed. I want to also talk about how the pressures of this time and even marriage can bring out other health issues like mental health. And I was really great to connect with Jazmine yesterday, because looking at her profile, I see that you've used some of your social media outreach as a way to also help destigmatize those who may sometimes deal with depression. And that you have found a victory, and you continue to find victory in depression. And without getting super deep as to any of your causes, because I'm really not as concerned, could you give a word of encouragement to those who they're not booed up, or even if they are, they feel like it doesn't matter, I'm alone in this world. And we know that depression sometimes, well, not sometimes, takes you further than you wanted to go and
Yeah.
keeps you there longer than you ever intended. And I just would
Right.
love, as a wife and as a person who's overcoming those moments, is there something you want to share with my audience?
Yeah, so my phone might die. I want to give that disclaimer. In a
What'd you
second,
say, sweetie?
I said my phone might die, so if I like completely just go away, then that's what happens.
No
Yeah, so
problem.
he's gonna try to get the charger for me just in case. But here's the thing, because I've been battling with depression since I was in like middle school and a little bit middle school. And that's just because I was picked on. I was always that person that was odded out. But like I said, I grew up in the church, so my parents were always more strict than the other parents were, even in that arena where we didn't go to sleepovers. I didn't wear pants for a long time. We just didn't do we didn't go to movie theaters. It was just, that's what I grew up in. So I was picked on just because of the environment that I was in. So I had all of that weighing down on me. And like I said, I really honestly would even encourage people to find, when you're battling with depression, the problem that most of us have, and I really honestly, I try not to speak for all people who have depression, just for me individually though.
Yeah.
My thing is, I had to first realize and understand what was going on with me and in my mind. Where did it start with? What was bothering me so much that I felt like I was the only one dealing with it. And so I had to get to that point first. I did have to go to counseling. It was never something that I completely could get over by myself. And so to encourage someone else, like, sometimes it's okay to reach out for help, but you have to reach out to the right people. And I want to blank that out for real, because there are some people that I legit had gone to for help and they really wanted to help, but they didn't help in the right way. So you have to make sure that if you're battling with something even like this, you have to go to the right people. A therapist is the greatest person that you can go to because they are trained for this. This is what they do day in and day out. They deal with this. They know what questions to ask you to get you back into those places. And I'm almost like tearing up kind of, because when I went to the sessions, I was kind of nervous. The first couple ones that I went to, and I was like, you know what, I don't know, what I'm gonna get, or I don't know what she's gonna like envelope for me. Thank you. But I know that it's gonna be something that's a breakthrough for me. And so once she broke it down and she asked me all the questions, and I kind of just went back, you know what, God, it's just because I don't feel worthy. I don't feel worthy enough for any of the things that has happened to me, good or bad. I feel like, you throw me into these pits and all of these bad things, and I feel like I really honestly, like, that's just where I belong. And so sometimes you have to stop and you have to pray and you have to let God work in you to let you know and to speak to you in that small voice, because I promise y'all, depression doesn't necessarily go away, but because I have more of God on my side when I do have those moments, it has been a better ride. And then because I also found a husband, that supports me in those moments, and he knows that I need a little extra care in those time frames. It makes it amazingly different in this relationship, and just that whole entire stigma that you are alone, even if you don't have a boyfriend or somebody else on your side. Find a therapist. I cannot stress to you, go regularly. There are so many different podcasts. There are so many, and I am on my page. I normally put out different podcasts that I'm currently listening to that people can listen to get into that meditation helps a whole lot. Doing yoga, just taking that time to really be one with yourself, because once you realize where that stuff is coming from, where all those stresses and things are coming from, you can battle anything. Y'all, you can battle anything once you know where it's coming from, but you have to go to the source. You have to find out what the source is, and in order to do that, you have to know you. And so that takes time. It's not going to happen after the first session. It's not going to happen within the second or maybe even the first month. But I promise you, at the end of it, because I think I was in there for, 4 months? At least 4 months. For mine, it was 4 months long before I finally figured out this is what it was. And so you have to be patient with yourself, be patient with the people around you, because I mean, he didn't know what was going on the whole time, and I couldn't get mad at him. It's not something that he did, and it's not something that he would have deserved, any backlash from. It was never, my parents' fault. It wasn't their thing. Like, those things can add on to what is happening, but at the end of the day, it was something inside of me that I felt every single time something happened. So I would just, like I said, encourage everybody, like, find a therapist, find someone like certified, if you can, that can help you through those moments, and then surround yourself with people who are legitimately in your corner, who are literally in your corner and will help you and steer you to those people who can help you.
I love that. And I particularly love your encouragement that it's okay to get help. As a believer, God is the source of everything, all that we have need of. But when my arm is chopped off, I'm not just sitting there going to say, God, help me. He's like, I did. The hospital's 2 miles away. I'm going to help you to have the clarity of mind to get in. It doesn't replace who Jehovah Rapha is, but at the same time, especially if you find yourself continually going around that circle, pray and ask God for the insight, and as you said, you need the right person. And I'm not afraid to share. Because of my breakup, and I was planning weddings, going to premarital counseling and wedding shows. I decided to go to counseling. And what I learned, not just from the counseling or prior to the counseling, really what I was dealing with was not as much regret about not getting married. It was the image of being a loser, the image of the idea of losing, because it wasn't, and it was sort of shocking to me, because when you boil it down to, it was pride. So I went from, it didn't happen, to, what's wrong with you? You really ain't sad. You're okay with not being with him, but you wanted to look like you're winning in this season, right? So I think it's so great that you share that, find the right person and be around the right people. And for my audience, some of you, you're not living where your family is, and your desire for companionship is more basic than, I want to find the man of my dream or the woman of my dreams like these couples have. Maybe you just don't know anyone. My prayer is that not only will you seek God to comfort you, but the Bible says you make friends by becoming friendly. And I know, praying for your future spouse challenge that I was a part of, and other different Facebook groups. If you're watching on Facebook, or you're using the internet, there are groups. Join in one of those groups. After a while, see some of the comments, and maybe connect. If you're a sister, connect with another woman and DM her. The sliding DMs don't have to just be for people interested in hooking up. People like, hey sis, I saw your testimony. I would love to connect. Maybe we could read a book together. I have actually made more connections of friendship, well, of course I would have, right? But potential friendships than ever considering the internet for just, an opportunity to date someone. What I'm saying is that God is allowed in this time where people are isolating and people are more reticent to just go out and connect and hang out in physical spaces, but he's allowed us to also have more opportunity to have access and to prayerfully consider, just like Brother Brian prayed and considered who to get to respond or talk to on the app. You can pray and ask the Lord to show you. Get on someone else's church, whatever, opening, and see who's commenting. Just like, hey, I noticed that you sing. I sing too. What are you? Don't be crazy about it, and don't have the fear of the spirit of rejection that maybe they're not feeling you. Maybe your need is not matching theirs, but just put yourself out there. Get around the right people. I love this time because you guys have had, and thank you for sharing your lives, your vulnerability and your triumphs. And really, we're talking about newlywedding in a new world. So much of this is living and adjusting with where God has you. Because if we are born and in this time, we are made for it. We could be like Esther. I was called to the kingdom for such a time as this, and God is using marriage for these two couples as a tool They're learning lessons that they would not otherwise learn, but for being with each other. And sometimes that lesson is, I'm here, like in the case, and I love that. Thank you so much, Jazmine, for sharing. Your husband's there supporting you, but he's not your answer to being delivered from depression. But because of his support, he can walk through that with you. God especially created him to be able to handle it. So who cares if he can explain how he's handling it? He's handling it. That's what God's called him to do. You all, we have people commenting, and I think this is going to set records, but also I knew that we may go over a little because I have four guests when you think about it. And some people have commented. Mia Horn, she said this wonderful, sweet thing. Definitely lean more on God and your husband. I like that order because your husband's not strong enough to like support you without God. And if he treats you as Jesus treated the church, he has to lean on that anyway. Now, we have someone called Magnetic Vortex Renaissance. And I don't know if it was a woman or a man, but I thank you for all your input and comments. I'm not going to have enough time to put everyone there, but he says, or she is from New Mexico, and commented that marriage is like landing a dream job, then a couple of years later demanding half ownership of the company. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. And some comments other than that. But what I wanted, this person said, having God as a part of your marriage is important. It is. Actually, I would even say, and I'm not suggesting you're saying anything wrong, but God has to be the center for a successful marriage. He's just saying, you know what, dabbed at the ceremony. But when I think about it too, even when it comes to my friendships, even when it comes to my family, even if I'm dealing with someone who doesn't believe, I put God in the center. And that's not me preaching to them, but it's like how I love them, how I forgive them, how I engage with them. God has to be the center because, you know, people, we could be ratchet and sometimey. But I would love, what is this something? This person said this, and because I want to give shout out to my people watching. Traditional woman, what can I do for you? Civilization flourishes. Feminist woman, what can you do for me? Civilization crashes. I'm gonna just leave that right there. I'm not amening or not, but if I understand the concept of any spouse, you need to be in the business of helping and being of assistance. Because if you ain't getting married, and this is what I've heard, y'all tell me the truth. If you get married to be served and not to serve, you go into the wrong union. Yeah. And let me ask you guys this, as newlyweds, and I'm gonna end soon after this and just give you couples the last word so y'all can like talk to each other real quick. I'm gonna remove y'all as I'm gonna bring y'all back. So talk to your spouse and say, what's our last words? So I want to ask, and I had planned to play a newlywed game, but we're not going to do that. I just want to encourage those who have been watching, and even those who like, you know what, that sounds all nice and fruity. And even you're talking about God, Hope. I don't, I don't know what I believe. What I can tell you is that love is God. God is love. So even to understand how to love in the world of coronavirus, or the world of H1N1, or the world of great prosperity, or the world of excitement, to understand who God is and how much he loves you. Do you understand how? No. You are adored by God. If he has a refrigerator in heaven, the Most High has your picture up, and he smiles when he sees it. And I just want you to understand that, because so many times the idea of God loving us, we get like, yeah, whatever. But he does. And because of that, he wants to put you with the person who will help bring out his love for you in their actions, their deeds, and their words. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't had that love found yet, or that love hasn't, or you haven't found that love yet in that one person, just know the love is still out there and grab hold to it. So I'm going to bring my guest on. And all day I've been starting with the OGs, so I'll end my time going with the OGs. Oh, they switched positions. OGs, what's your last word to the people about newlywed in a new world?
We actually just talked about it really fast. So for us, it would just be his dad. His dad passed away, so it's a little bit to our hearts dear. But his dad had a saying, it was against all odds. And that's literally what marriage is. It's against all odds. So no matter what's going on, no matter what gets thrown at you in any given situation, no matter who comes at you in any given situation, it's always going to be against all odds. So when you're thinking about situations that are happening and going on, I mean, personally, I just always think of like, this is not a temporary thing. How do I want to feel about this afterwards? Like, do I want to have been that wife that was super supportive of him and what he was doing? And how will that affect me, down the road? Will I feel like I was, literally there for him? And honestly, when we get to heaven, like, what is God going to say about our marriage? How did we reflect to other people that God was really, God is a real person? Did we reflect him in such a way that everyone looks at our marriage and is able to see the love that we have despite what we may both be going through or how we feel in a given moment? So against all odds, you got to be together, and we are together.
Oh, yes. We went through a lot.
I love it. Amen. Thank you, Tompkins family. I so appreciate you being on. And to our McCollums, our newly minted honeymooners.
Thank you.
So yeah, actually my wife, she came up with this, and she's been saying this the whole time, through, our relationship, even when we got engaged, and it was actually the theme for our wedding. It is our story, God's glory. And that is the hashtag that we put out there. You have to remember that God's going to get the glory no matter what, so whatever your situation is, understand that it is orchestrated, and God's going to get the glory out of it. Anyone that has any questions or just need, to hear the testimony, because we truly believe that God used our ministry of our wedding and us being married to be a testimony to others. I welcome you to inbox me or my wife, and we will pray with you, pray for you, give you words of encouragement. As we said before, with mental health, that is very important. If you're looking for, to call a prayer line or just have, someone to talk with, I encourage everyone to search out Archbishop SMK. That is Dr. Stephen M. Kelsey. He is also a forensic psychologist as well as a bishop. So, at Spirit-Filled Newlywed Church Ministries, he has his own outreach, which is, Fresh Start LLC. So definitely, again, that is Archbishop MK, and you can reach out to him on his page, and you can find the prayer line, and members from the church will pray for you, pray with you. And if you're seeking counseling, he can definitely give you counseling from a health science perspective as well as a spiritual perspective. And if you need to reach out to me or Amy, you can definitely inbox us, and we will be glad to share God's glory and our testimony to you.
Well, you all have been such a blessing. Thank God for the Tompkins and the McCollums. I'm going to definitely ask that you stay on as I end so I can just say goodbye. But I also want to encourage you, and I failed to do this as I didn't do a lot of pre-production. When you look at this show later, please comment in the box and give them your information. So we already heard about the businesses from the Tompkins, so that people can find out more about what you do outside of loving the beautiful spouse and the handsome spouse that God is giving you with. You guys be blessed. Oh my goodness, it was just starting to get good. And Magnetic Vortex Renaissance, whoever you are supposed to be on this. And I don't know if you watched the whole time, but I want you to watch the whole time. And what I can say is amen unto a lot of things of what you're saying. But what we all can learn is that God loves us, and he got the whole world in his hands. It's what little kid sings, what he does. So whether you're newlywed, whether you're single, whether you're employed, unemployed, We can do love in the time of Corona, finances in the time of Corona, because really Corona is only this little thing. God is so much greater than that. And I pray that not just for you, Cortex or Magnetic Vortex Renaissance, but all of you who are watching now or on the replay. God bless you. I'm your host, Hope Dims, and this is hopeMORE. Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.
Have a wonderful Friday.